Today I'll be making a superhero cape for one of my Twitter followers, The Splash. So this video is just for you. We're going to teach the world how to be a hero. First, take your neck measurement by wrapping a tape measure around where you want your cape to lay on your neck. Looks like mine is about 14 inches. Next, measure from the nape of the neck down to where you want your cape to end. Okay, so let's discuss the pattern for our cape and how we're going to lay it out on our fabric. The shape of your cape is a trapezoid. The top is your neck hole, slightly flared sides to give you some airlift on your superhero missions, and then the base is going to be the hem of your cape. Now we need to determine how we are going to measure each of these parts of the cape. The neck is obviously going to be associated with the neck measurement you took. I'd recommend making it 1.5 times the neck measurement. So I'll just put 1.5 times NM. The length of your cape here is going to be that nape of the neck to floor measurement. So you can maybe write nape to floor. And then the base of the cape is going to be determined by how far you want your cape to flare out. Of course, I could make this angle a little different, and then my cape would be much more flowy. I'd have more flare to it. You might be restricted by the width of your fabric, but we're going to explore that in my next little diagram. All right, the easiest way to cut out a symmetrical pattern is by laying half of the pattern on the fold. So I'll draw out a folded piece of fabric. Fold it evenly. Don't make it uneven at the top there like I did, just for visual aid purposes. Okay. Now you'll want to cut all your measurements in half because obviously they're going to be cut out twice. So up here you've got half of that neck hole measurement we decided. It's 1.5 times your neck measurement. Then here, down the fold, mark where your nape of the neck to floor measurement stopped. So let's say it stopped right here. Now, you can extend this line out, maybe with a marker, or just lay your ruler out and decide how much you want your cape to flare. You can always cut this off later if you decide there's too much fabric there. So maybe give yourself a healthy amount of fabric and you can always cut it off later. Make sure to do this with a ruler so that you connect those lines well. All right, so first I'm going to decide which side of my tracing paper is going to be the fold. And I'll write place on fold there. Then I'll take my ruler, divided my neck measurement in half, turn the ruler the right way. My neck measurement was 14. 14 times 1.5 is 21, divided by 2 is 10.5. So I'll just follow my ruler out to here, to 10.5 inches. Perfect. I'm going to make my cape 40 inches long, so roll this out. Get to my 40-inch mark. And I'm just going to draw a line that's perpendicular to the fold. Bring it straight out. Like I said, you can extend this line if you so desire. My next task is to connect these 2 points. First, I'm going to cut off the bottom hemline with my paper scissors. I, of course, enjoy using a rotary cutter most of the time, but I know not everyone has the space or the resources to have a big mat in their house. So what I want to do now is connect my points, and then I can cut out the rest of my pattern. So, laying out my ruler, of course a longer ruler would be helpful in this case, but let's just do it here and I'll eyeball it. It's my approximate angle here. Continue it out, And like I said, this doesn't have to be a set length, so always feel free to extend it out when you're on your fabric. All right, we are going to make the Splashes cape out of this awesome dot sequin because, well, why not? These selvages of the fabric aren't going to fray, so just go ahead and leave them. Who cares? I mean, they aren't going to see you when you're speeding past like a bolt of lightning through the air. All right, I folded my fabric in half, right sides together, really just so the sequins won't blind the camera, but you can fold it any way you like. Place your pattern where it needs to go with your place on fold mark on the fold where it belongs. You can pin your pattern. I prefer not to so that my pattern doesn't get distorted. Just go ahead and lay out some pattern weights or random objects you have that will hold down your pattern. Once again, I like to do this with a rotary cutter, but scissors will be just fine for now. All right, the splash, this is where we're going to get a little technical. We're going to prepare for the only sewing that we're going to do on this project. Like I said before, we don't have to hem or overcast this fabric because it's not going to fray on us. While that is a nice feature of the dot sequin, this fabric also poses some other problems. It's very slick, it can be difficult to sew on and difficult to cut, but it's lots of fun to use, so I would encourage you to try it out when and if you have the right materials. So I'm going to use a product that we have called Wonder Tape. It is excellent. It is a temporary disappearing tape. It dissolves in water, or you can just leave it there and eventually it will come away, like if you leave it in a seam. I love it for zippers and also for things like this when I have a sort of stubborn fabric to deal with. So I'll show you what we're going to do. Wonder Tape has a paper backing on one side and then on the other it's sticky. So that is the part that we're going to lay down. So we're going to lay our Wonder Tape across the whole length of the fabric. Sticky side down. And press it in place. And you can just kind of tear off that end. So we've laid it out on our fabric and we'll just gently peel that paper away from the sticky side, and it leaves behind sort of a film. It's kind of hard to see on camera. And now it's all sticky. And then we want to fold over our neck hole side, probably about 2 inches. Get yourself a ruler or a tape measure. 1.5 should be good, actually. Change my mind. And smooth it down and do the same thing all the way down the fabric, checking to make sure you've got at least 1.5 inches, making yourself even. Okay, and there is our folded up neck hole casing. It's where our drawstring is going to go. All right, at this point we are going to use a sewing machine, so I would point you non-experienced sewers to our videos about how to thread a sewing machine and how to wind the bobbin and how to install a bobbin as well. Make sure and watch those before we do the sewing part of this project. All right, the sewing part of this project couldn't get much simpler. Set your machine to a straight stitch going down the center of the presser foot and the sewing area, and let your presser foot ride right along the edge of the right side of the fabric. Start off with a tack down stitch. You're going to back stitch. See how my needle is going backwards a few stitches? I'm using green thread so you can see. And then just continue straight stitching. All right, well, this is the last step before we are finished with our superhero cape. What we have to do is put cording or a drawstring through the casing on the neck holes so that we can tie it around our necks and go look amazing while saving the world. I'm going to introduce another sewing notion that you might be unfamiliar with. This is called a bodkin. It is a needle with a very large eye that has a round point on the end. So it's used to thread things through. It's not used to penetrate fabric, actually. So what we're gonna do is thread our bodkin. See, I've got my cording here. And you may need to flatten out your cording. Chew on it a little bit. Get it through there. All right, that was easy enough. Got a tail on it. Turn my neck hole casing over, and I'm just gonna thread it on through. And I could even do this, gather it onto the bodkin so that I'm not worried about it coming off. And then my cord has gone all the way through the bodkin, or excuse me, through the casing connected to the bodkin. I can take the bodkin off and make sure and cut myself a length of cord that fits around my neck. So I'll fit it to myself before I do that. All right, everybody, it really was that easy. All I did was cut off my cording to the right length, tie a couple knots at the end, and then tie it around my neck. And now I am ready to go and save the world.